everyone. Welcome to the 44th episode of the BDE Sports Talk Podcast. Here to give you the latest scoop in the world of sports in the great state of Michigan. And this week, we give our thoughts on a couple of the new NFL rules, touch on a couple Lions issues. We're going to discuss some MSU basketball and their season and if Tom Izzo can succeed in an NIL world. Also, the Tigers start their season this week, and we give our thoughts on how things may go for them. And as always, the weekly Red Wings update. I am Bill, one of three co-hosts, along with the D&E of the BDE, Dean and Eddie. Fellas, let's get right into it. No more nicknames.
Let's do it.
No more nicknames.
You ain't playing games.
Let's get right into it. The NFL dropped some new rules approved by the owners. First one is they are banning the hip drop tackle, which the NFL describes as a swivel technique in which a player grabs the runner with both hands or wraps the runner with both arms and unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, landing on and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. Doing so now becomes a 15-yard penalty and automatic first down. So, Eddie, as a former linebacker yourself, what are your thoughts on this travesty?
I don't like the ban. I don't like it. I mean, it's hard enough already to play defense in the league, as I would obviously know. Hard enough to play defense in the league as it is. Taking away another tool for these guys to try and tackle somebody, to me, is just starting to get beyond the pale. Yes, helmet to helmet, I get it, right? That's long-term psychological damage. It could lead to other people being harmed that don't even play football. But, I mean, this to me is just a tackle. And I think fairly rare that somebody sustains a serious injury. I mean, does it happen? Yeah. But guys get injured also without getting hit at all, too. So, like,
right?
Are we going to take away running on your legs? Just attach cords from the ceilings that can fly around like it's Peter Pan on Broadway. I mean, look, if this particular tackle is producing an epidemic of injuries, I'd say sure. But I would also say the pain injections they give the players are probably more long-term harmful than a season-ending ACL tear. But they don't want to talk about that. So, no, I don't like it. I don't like it because I think it's a regular tackle. I think how is a 5'11", 160-pound, 180-pound cornerback trying to tackle Derrick Henry from behind? What's he supposed to do?
Right.
You're supposed to make a tackle. So just let him go? I don't know.
Pretty much.
I don't like it. Obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't know what a defender can do. You know, someone brought it up when I was reading through comments and whatnot that why would you want to play football and be a defender at this point? Because anything you do, especially if you're like, you just brought up someone in the secondary. What like you can't do anything. Past 5 yards if you touch them, it's a penalty. You know what I mean? It's pass interferences mostly go towards the defense. You can't launch anymore, which in some ways I get, but it's like we've seen examples of tackles where they've launched and they called it a penalty and it looked like a normal tackle. So, I mean, why? I don't know why you'd want to be a cornerback at this point anyway, because like you said, 5'11", 180 cornerback now trying to tackle, like you said, Derrick Henry. That's perfect. A perfect example. You can't do it. That's a big dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, so how do you judge that penalty? Like if the guy is just trying to hold on, let's say he gets a hold of Derrick Henry's waist and he's just trying to, wiggle him to the ground and then he, is being dragged and then goes down to his legs. You get a penalty for that? Is that how you read it?
I assume so.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's going to be a mess. Yeah. But Dean, sorry, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he couldn't have said it any better. It's a terrible rule. I mean, like you said, you can't tackle anybody anymore. You can't tackle them. You can't, hit them in the head or whatever. I mean, you can't hit high. You can't hit low. I mean, it's not
Why
good to hit
can't
them.
they
You
hit
know
him
what
in
I
the head
mean?
no more?
You think back like to the
Yeah.
80s and stuff, I
For
mean,
sure.
those guys were crushing each other. Even in the 90s, early 2000s, it's like you're taking it away. And it's just, I know I get like offense probably brings more ratings, but to the true like football fans, I mean, why even watch your team play defense? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's it's crazy to me that that's where it's come to. The only good thing that's come from it is the memes that have been put out. Like you'd mentioned Derrick Henry. I literally just watched a video of like what the NFL expects corners to do when Derrick Henry comes at them. They're just just like sit there and just like let him run by you. Like there's nothing they can do. Like
Dude, that's hilarious.
those small dudes, they can't just straight up tackle Derrick Henry. I mean, I'm sure some of them can, but that dude, when he's coming at you full speed, come on, like there's no chance.
The only
There's just
leverage they've ever had is to go low to
Right.
begin with.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And then if you can get a hold of the guy and then get his legs, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
If you stop their legs, they stop running.
Yeah. Even when I was watching like their examples of what the penalty might look like and stuff like that, it's like what I'm just watching football. I'm just watching them get tackled. Like, and none of them got hurt in any of the examples that they're showing. And it does happen, but like you said, like Dre Greenlaw in the friggin' Super Bowl or NFC Championship game for the 49ers this past season. I mean, he literally just jumped onto the field and he tore his ACL or PCL or whatever.
It was a Super Bowl.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl. So it's like that's going to happen regardless, and it's a physical sport. You're taking all the physicality out of it. Now
That's
it's
what we
just
like.
Yeah, and that's the reason like I fell in love with football. That's why I loved playing defense when I played, because you got to hit people and you got to. But now it's like, oh, you can. I mean, you've already protected the quarterback as much as you can. I mean, you can't even land on the guy anymore.
Yeah, you got to aim under their nipples and above their waist. That's it.
Yeah.
Anywhere other than that, that's a 15-yard.
And eventually that'll become a penalty. So
yeah, no kidding. See if you can grab their wrists and swing them to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I also watched this video of Blue Mountain State when he's guy's he picks him up and he like gently sends him down. He's like how the NFL expects defenders to tackle. And I was, it's just like to the ground. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't like the rule, but I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, I think we're obviously all in agreement, and a lot of people are. Jabril, I think it was Jabril Peppers, even said something like, "Yeah, I'm mad." He goes, "We don't know what to do at this point."
Yeah.
And if anything, you're gonna have to go for like the ankles at this point, and then people are gonna start breaking ankles and snapping it. You know what I mean? Just
have any good defensive backs spoken up about it?
I'm sure they have.
I'm just joking. No, I mean, yeah, I can't say I blame them for saying that. I mean, we all are kind of like, I don't know what they're gonna do, and they're like, we don't know what we're supposed to do. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a mess,
and it'll be called fairly throughout the season too. It's like it's just gonna be referee discretion, and they're gonna make bad calls a lot. People are gonna complain about
and the Lions have to play at Dallas, so that's getting called at least.
It's gonna be like 10 of them. It's gonna be like 10 of those
to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the other rule that went into effect for this year, I guess it's 1 year. It's the new kickoff. It's a new format. And let me pull this up here real quick because I have the article from ESPN. so that we can fully explain what's happening. Maybe I don't. Maybe I got rid of it.
I saw a video because is it the USFL is testing it out, or the whatever the new league is, the XFL. They've been trying it out, and I saw like what the kickoff will look like. I think it's it's the kickoff's last chance to stay in the game. You know, I don't think they're going to make any more real adjustments to it before they're just like, all right, you're going to start at the 20, you know, or the 25. There's a lot of different rules that go into it. Obviously, Bill's going to go into that more, but I mean, I don't know. It could be really interesting, and it keeps it in play. And that I kind of like that in a sense.
Right.
But we'll see.
So,
I mean, you know.
Yeah. So the kicker kicks off from the 35-yard line. The other 10 will line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line. At least 9 members of the return team will be between the 35 and 30-yard lines. And then they're calling that the setup zone. There's going to be a landing zone where the ball's going to be between the 20, or the ball ideally, I guess, will drop between the 20-yard line and the goal line. They'll have probably 1 or 2 returners. The ball lands in the end zone or goes out of the end zone. The touchback will be put at the 30-yard line. If it's kicked out of bounds, the ball will be placed at the 40. So, you know, Dean, you kind of touched up on it. The kicking team can't move, and besides the kicker, obviously, but the kicking team can't move until the ball's touched or hits the ground. And so that kind of gives the advantage to the kicking team because, you know, I mean, the return team will end up figuring out at some point, but, you know, they're not going to sit there and look back when you got beasts 10 yards away from you. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be there, you know, like that. But that effectively gets rid of the onside kick. There's no more surprise onside kicks.
You have to like let them know before. You have to let the other team know.
Yeah. You know, so I don't like that. I like the surprise onside kick. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't like how they're just effectively changing football altogether. But, you know, in the name of safety, I guess. In the name of safety. So, yeah, I don't like it. You guys?
I think it will. We'll see how it plays out. Obviously, I think there's potential for it to be pretty good, but it also has potential to be obviously really bad. I think there's going to be chances for like almost like trick plays because the kickoff team can't start running until they catch the ball. So as soon as they catch the ball, I mean, that gives you opportunities, more open lanes, I guess, if you have enough blockers up front. I mean, we'll see what happens with it. I don't know. I don't hate it right now because it keeps it in the game compared to what they were talking about before, which was pretty much just completely taking it out. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, initially, I don't like it. I like that there's an opportunity for kickoffs or kick returns. There's more kick returns than I thought there were. I think there was like 500 actual kick returns last year during the season, but I think that was down half from like the season before that even. So, I mean, I hardly remember any kick returns at all watching Lions games this year. There was only 4 touchdowns returned kickoffs. So it's like, and I thought there was 0. And then I was like, I don't want to look it up, but there were 4. And I mean, out of however many games, that's awfully very few. So I like that the kickoffs come back. I obviously, what you guys already talked, I don't like that the surprise onside's gone, but that's also probably more rare than a kickoff return already.
Right.
And so it's a give and take. I wonder if, since I feel like the kickoff and kick return teams are what, 5 or 10 yards apart from each other?
I think they're 5 yards
10?
apart.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just move it to where he could be 5 yards to recover an onside.
Right.
You know, I mean, but that also, I think that's also the advantage of the kickoff team, because 5 yards is awfully hard to adjust to, having to go backwards and get a ball than guys just rushing forward. So I think some kind of system's got to be figured out there, or you just got to let them know there is no surprise. And again, that's so rare anyway.
Right.
But that also obviously takes that out of the possibility. So that's something I don't like, but glad to see kick returns coming back.
And
in
I did
general.
see a thing where it said with this kickoff rule change, it effectively makes Devin Hester the greatest returner of all time for the rest of time.
You ever heard of
As
Mel
long as
Gray,
it's-
son? You ever heard of Mel Gray, son?
You ever heard of Khalif Raymond?
Yeah. Yeah. How about so close Eddie Drummond? Talking about every time he's like, dude, you weren't that close. I don't know.
You were at our own 30.
If I broke just 3 more tackles, I would have had it.
Oh,
we get tackled at the 20. He's like, It's like, dude, there's still 6 guys in front of you. What are you talking about? Like,
you ran out of bounds.
It was a touchback. Like, what are you doing?
He said, but still.
Ooh, if I would have caught it though.
So in Lions news,
Yeah, Bill. What
To
do you
up-
think? Should they still?
should they who the kick
Still resign?
Oh yeah, I got that. I switched that.
Huh?
In Lions news, to update where we are from the last episode, we're going to start with Cam Sutton. It was revealed he was in the Lions facility when the warrant became public. When approached, he ended up leaving the facility and then was subsequently released by the Lions the next day. Unfortunate event. I wanted to ask you guys if you felt it was the right move to release him the day after. I tend to think it is, but I don't. Everyone's got their own opinion. So, do you think they should have kept him or
No. No, especially if he was in the facility. They're like, "Hey, man, like, what's going on?" He's like, "See ya," and just left.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
they're
you know
probably
what?
okay.
I better check my beeper in the car.
Yeah, I think I left something in the car. I'll be back. And then he's in Florida. Like, what is like?
Did he go back to Florida?
I don't
no one knows? No one knows.
I'm like, dude, that's crazy. He came here and then went back to the place that they're looking for him.
No, it just it makes more sense why they released him now. I mean, at first it's like I get these allegations are harsh, and the fact that he was running is enough for them to just release him just based off that. But like if he didn't run and they just released him off for if it was just the allegations at the moment, I would have said no. But with all this stuff coming out and him running, and you don't need to deal with it, because then it's just going to eventually come back onto the Lions for something. So they were probably, let's just nip it in the bud now. And then they ended up saving cap space because of it. Didn't they void the rest of his contract? Didn't the NFL void the rest of his contract?
Have they officially?
That's just something I had heard. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's something that likely will happen. I mean, if somebody's running like this, clearly,
right?
It looks bad unless this is like a thriller type of movie where he's just got to escape long enough to prove his innocence. He's been framed.
Yeah.
So he's on the run just to collect evidence. But that seems very unlikely.
Like, she strangled herself, man.
Yeah. It was Brad Holmes in a Cam Sutton wig.
Oh,
I did it.
He was just trying to get out of the contract.
Yeah, he's just trying to get out of the contract.
No, but seriously, that's terrible. And
terrible.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's obviously the right move. Even if he's proven innocent, it seems like the right move, because one, you have to protect yourselves above all else. Okay, protect your brand, especially what they've built. so far being, kind of a team that the country cheers for. We, as much as a lot of folks like to wear Detroit versus everybody, like a lot of everybody's mostly for Detroit, at least at this point in time for that specific team. And so, they got to protect their brand. They got to protect themselves. And obviously, if he's running, you got a good chance of just cutting bait, and doing the right thing at the right time goes a long way for public opinion and for probably what you're trying to get from the NFL. Because they'll support that. They're like, yeah, obviously they've got a brand and an image that they're like, we don't want our players, our teams associated with things like that, so.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think everyone agrees, but I want to see if you guys, yeah,
I would hope.
They did
Just
that.
to
Go
gather
to read, comment below.
Show yourself.
So we were going to answer the question: should the Lions
Taylor
resign Josh? Yeah. Should the Lions re-sign Josh Reynolds? But as of today, he's heading to Denver on a 2-year deal worth up to $14 million. So now we answer the question:
do we trade for him?
Get him back with a 7th round pick.
Exactly.
Good move on not paying him that money, or not great because they need another receiver, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was a good move not to re-sign him. I think it's a bit much for. I mean, I don't know what the lower end of the. I mean, I know that's a lower end wide receiver contract, but I felt like he could have probably gotten less. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had good chemistry with Jared Goff, and he was a part of the team, for the last few years. That's been huge for us, and I mean, I'm happy he was able to find somewhere else. I feel like there are other options out there that could do what he did. Maybe not the same type of chemistry as he had with Goff. I mean, obviously that was a huge boost to the team when they signed him when they were, 3-13-1. He was a big boost to why they, got those 3 wins. I mean, they only had St. Brown, and he at least provided somewhat of a threat when they brought him in. So, I mean, I was happy that they got him when they did. I think they just kind of could find somebody better, in my opinion. I don't know who. I'm assuming Holmes has got something cooked up for maybe something in the draft, maybe a veteran receiver. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think it was a good call not to re-sign him.
Well, real quick, Ed, while what they have right now, just to go over real quick, Eddie, before you get into it, is they have Amon-Ra Jamo, Khalif Raymond, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Antoine Green. So, and then they have Doris Fountain, Traquan Smith, Maurice Alexander, and Tom Kennedy, who are on reserve future contracts. Kennedy.
I do think DPJ can do exactly what Josh Reynolds did the last couple of seasons. I don't see. I think he's more of an upgrade than having Reynolds out on the field. No offense to Josh Reynolds, but if you're listening, but I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is an upgrade in that sense, and it gives JMO more opportunities as well.
I mean, yeah, DPJ should be an upgrade. I don't know if he will be or not, because Goff doesn't love him the way he loved Josh Reynolds. Originally, I felt like you got to wait till after the draft to re-sign him. I don't think you re-sign Josh Reynolds for that kind of money. I always felt like it's also very possible they took a receiver at 29, or trade up a few spots if a guy falls to them, like Brian Thomas from LSU, who's projected to go 24th. Xavier Worthy from Texas, who's projected at 19. If he fall a couple, trade up, use a 5th, something to get a guy, if that's really what they're looking for. I mean, who knows? A guy out there I thought was interesting in free agency right now, who has familiarity with the coaching staff, Michael Thomas. When healthy and not counted on as the offense's only option, he can be elite. I think it'd be a perfect spot for him and an obvious upgrade over Reynolds, if possible. But it was tough. I mean, Josh had a pretty good year. Those key drops kind of soured him to people. Overall, would have been nice to see him back as our worst case scenario. I think this is a not great scenario for him. I think he's going to see 30 targets over the next 2 years, and because they don't have a QB,
right?
And they're not going to have a QB, like I was saying, that loves him when they get there.
That'll give him the opportunities. Yeah.
And he'll be, there's Cortland Sutton, there's Marvin Mims out there. There's he'll be the third or fourth guy already.
They still have Jerry Jeudy too, right?
I believe so.
No. He can't remember where he got traded, but he got traded for like a 3rd round pick or something like that. Because I was like, man, and the funny thing is, like, I'm looking down to try to get this, but I look at some of these, right, and I'm like, man, we could use them, or like Saquon was available, and I'm like, well, we don't need him. there's no reason, there's no reason that we need him. Jerry Jeudy, he went to the Browns. Yep. They
I mean, at best he's still the third.
Right.
Walking in, he's a third receiver on a team that doesn't know who their starting quarterback's going to be. Could even be JJ.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, that's see how it goes. That might be a retirement contract for old Josh Reynolds, and I'm not sure that's what he was trying to do, but
right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad, Brad Holmes hasn't really been one to overpay somebody.
Right.
So I think he thought exactly what you said, Dean. Like, we can get production elsewhere for probably cheaper. Probably someone who got hurt last season. I don't know. It seems like we just keep doing that. Anyways, so okay. Well, good luck, Josh. Moving on to basketball. The Pistons still stink. They continue to get worse. They've lost 7 straight, lost 8 of their last 10. In that stretch of 10 games, all losses have been by at least 13, except for the 3-point loss to the Heat. And now it becomes can they win 4 more games to tie the worst season in franchise history? So, fellas, just real quick, there's not a lot of I didn't really want to get into it, but figured we might as well touch on it. Do you think they can do it? Do you think they can get to 16?
I mean, it's not impossible, but no, I don't think so. I watched them play the Knicks the other night, and man, it was
dude.
It was a tough watch. I mean, I get, like, at this point in the season, those guys probably don't have a lot of motivation. I mean, understandably, you lose that many games, it's hard to stay motivated. But I don't think they got 4 wins in them.
They look bad.
I think they're done. They're cooked. So no.
Yeah, they might have. I mean, they should be able to beat Washington. Both teams playing for absolutely nothing.
Right.
What a failure. What
an abject failure. The fact that Troy Weaver is still the general manager of the team. Should the league step in
Trust
they did with the
man.
process Sixers. No, they had to do that with the Sixers.
I know, but this is a different process, bro.
Dude,
This
we're
terrible.
almost worse. And the bad thing is the Pistons have been trying to win, and the Sixers were trying to lose. I think there was some stat. It was like over that 3-year aggregate, like the Pistons have like 6 more wins than the process Sixers did. And they were trying to tank.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Yeah. They've looked terrible. I've tried. I'm telling you guys, I've tried to watch that team play, and I can't watch them play.
It's rough watch, man.
It's hard. It's hard.
You guys want to get tickets and go? I bet we can get some pretty sweet seats.
Probably just walk right up to the window.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, for sure you can get
a couple of
tickets
$5 nosebleeds
and move up.
You can get tickets at the 100%.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
About to
like,
pull
is anything available? And they're like, you want courtside for 15
Yeah.
or what? What's going on?
About to pull that Michigan Pepsi ticket sale.
Yeah.
Grab a Pepsi, get 2 tickets to the big house.
Yeah. Pop a tab, get a free ticket to the Pistons game.
Crazy.
Oh, is that under? What's this under my cap?
It's sad.
It's free Pistons tickets. Throw it away. I'm good.
Yeah. I didn't put that in the rundown. I just figured I saw that today, and I'm like, oh gosh. So. Keeping up with basketball, MSU did in fact beat Mississippi State. They looked pretty good playing Mississippi State. They couldn't get past UNC. They're out after the first weekend, and it is what it is. We kind of all called it, But the interesting story, at least for me, from an outsider's perspective, would be Tom Izzo, right? So I believe. He said he'll be back next season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you guys, and I said this in the intro, in today's college basketball landscape, do you think he can thrive in this NIL world?
Maybe. I mean, it's all about adjustments, right? I mean, some guys, some coaches can do it and some coaches can't. I mean, you look at guys like, he's very similar to a guy like Nick Saban for football, where, he said the NIL has changed everything about the way he, coached and recruited, which makes sense. Cause now you're not just running off the prestige of the school anymore. You're running on that and how much you can pay these kids too, which is deserved by them. Especially if you're going to use their name and likeness and, whatever comes along with that. We'll see. I think he's going to give it a go. Obviously he's going to stick around and we'll see what happens. But I feel like if it's not going the way he wants it to, I don't think he'll be around much longer. But if he can adjust to it and work with it, and you got to be able to do that. You got to go with the times. You got to go with the times. So we'll see. I would say for now, maybe. That's the best I could do, is just a maybe.
Yeah, I personally, I don't think it's really been that much of a factor. I don't think he's had to do much with it. I think a lot's been provided due to the success he's had previously. You think about, United Wholesale Mortgage, Ishbia, you got stuff like that who's been providing automatic NIL stuff. And so there's not much I don't think he's had to navigate, and he's still pulling in pretty good recruits. You have Fears, Carr, Booker last year. That was a top 10 recruiting class, if not top 5. I'm not sure I remember. But I don't think that's played as big of a factor. The biggest factor is him coaching. And it's, I talked about at the beginning of the year. You've been running the same system since the Flintstones, and been able to get away with it because of talent. Mostly, you've gotten pretty good talent. Kids usually, it seems like the one thing that he always has going for him is it seems like the team typically typically buys in.
Mm.
And the other factor is usually is able to get pretty good players. And so if you put that together, yeah, you run it up the floor every time, but every time you see like a Syracuse zone or a full court press, like there's a struggle. And I've seen it every year for at least 20 years. It hasn't changed. So that has to change. I think he needs to bring new blood in as an assistant coach or something, just to generate something different. Xavier Booker said he was going to be back, which I was a little surprised to see because I thought he'd want to get out of there, but he must believe too. So,
do you think it's also to go with his coaching? Do you think it's a little bit of his loyalty to lesser talented seniors?
that hurts. I mean, yeah, that can hurt. And it's
Yeah.
also paid off.
True.
I think that's part of it too. It's like, yeah, I mean, lesser talented, but they know the system. They've played it. And so that's why you had those, runs, those 8 Final Fours, because there was upperclassmen who may not have been absolute studs, but they were bought in. They did a lot of the things you're supposed to do. I hate to say, because there was so much potential with this guy. I'd love to see AJ Hogarth go at this point. I think he's kind of bought into his own potential that he had from when he was like a sophomore and never really progressed. I think I heard a lot of stories about him up in Lansing, actually. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. So I mean, I could say it that he likes to. This is what they say.
Hot dog?
Obviously not. Yeah, hot dogging.
Full
Obviously
Madrid.
not confirmed by anybody I know. Just rumor that he definitely likes to spend a lot of time at the bars the night before games. They say he likes to get high before games. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, he looks like he's playing like he's stoned right now. I mean, honestly, but that's just talking trash too. So he has one more year of eligibility because of the COVID year. I hope he pass. I think it's time to pass the torch to guys like Jeremy Fears and move forward.
A tweet by Jim Costa at 97.1. He said Izzo will be 70 next season. He's been bounced in the opening weekend 6 of the last 8 tournaments, 1 Final Four with Cassius Winston, but it's clearly not the program it once was. Do you agree with that statement? Because while that is true for me, those are essentially facts, Michigan, it's still Michigan State. They're still going to the tournament. You know what I mean? It's not like look at Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Last in the Big Ten. You don't ever see Michigan State last in the Big Ten.
Right. But I think that's part of it too, is that they expect more out of Izzo and the team is to go farther than they have. I would say those are fair points, I mean, and he is getting up there in age. I mean, retirement's around the corner at some point, probably within the next few years, I'd imagine. Maybe not. I don't know if he wants to try to coach until he's 80 or whatever. Yeah, I'd still say it's still a prestigious program regardless. So like you said, they're never last in the Big Ten. They're always in the tournament. There's always an opportunity. It's March Madness, regardless of what seed you are. I mean, you see it every year. You saw it with Oakland this year, and there's another team. But it happens. It's not impossible to go far into the tournament, regardless of seed. So I don't know.
No, I mean that's Costa's right. I mean, it's not the standard. It's not. It shouldn't be like, oh, we made a Sweet 16 a year ago. That's not the standard that's been set. Now, 26 tournaments in a row, that's incredibly impressive. I mean, that just can't be. You can't overlook that. And Izzo 100% has earned the right to walk away whenever he wants to walk away. And I don't know if it would take a lot for me to step down from that position. But yeah, it's not where it was. Even going to the Sweet 16 last year, that was a tournament that fell to them to make it to the Final Four. You know, the way things played out in a typical year, well, not typical, but it should have been a one that they made a run at, and it just doesn't happen. And everybody's supposed to be like, you know, carrying people off the court because we made a Sweet 16, but it's like,
It's not the
that's not
end
what
goal.
Michigan State's supposed to be.
Right.
And so,
Right.
yeah, no, there's definitely been a step back. You know, a lot of folks like to feel like Michigan State basketball is a blue blood program, but it's not. It's just below. I mean, I mean, look at the, you know, they were talking about during the game. I mean, you ever play North Carolina in the tournament? You lose. Overall record 5-13 against them. Against Duke, big time losing. You know, I mean, you can go on, right? It's just Michigan State is like in that tier that's better than the rest, but not the top four. But now they're starting to filter down from that.
Right.
And so,
right. Yeah. Well, interesting take. I agree. But I mean, I don't know. And this is coming from a Michigan fan. When I personally think of blue blood college basketball programs, I think of UConn, UNC, Duke, Syracuse. That's from me growing up. Not really Syracuse anymore, but in Michigan State.
Kansas.
Yes, Kansas too. But I mean, besides that, and that may be because of Izzo's longevity. It could be, you know, it's the tournament streak. It's everything that goes with it. I guess that's my feelings on blue blood and college basketball. So, anyways, hoping to become a blue blood. There's one coach I think who has a good chance of thriving in the NIL world is Dusty May. Yeah. Michigan hired Dusty May to be its next head basketball coach. 5 years, $3.75 million a year. Coach May comes to Michigan from Florida Atlantic, where in 6 seasons at FAU he was 126-69, including going 60-13 in his last 2 seasons, which included 2 tourney berths and a Final Four. Great hire. I had him in my top 3. I believe he'll succeed. It already looks like Michigan's starting to take NIL more seriously than they have been, which is kind of a crappy thing for Juwan, you know, because Juwan fought for NIL for the last 2 seasons. But, you know, moving forward. Last week, I said it. I think the portal will help speed up the process, and we'll go from. Okay, we're recording. Okay, so welcome, Coach May. So I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that.
I think it was a good hire for Michigan. I mean, they're already getting transfers from FAU or whatever, and like you said,
Sure.
I was reading some stuff about Michigan being more invested in the NIL, and that probably comes with Dusty. I mean, if you want a top tier coach, they're going to want help with NIL stuff, right? I mean, that's just how it's going to be from now on.
Well,
And
that was a big conversation that they had during the interview.
right. And I mean, and clearly that's what he wanted, and he was a big part of that at FAU as well. So I mean, it was a good hire by them. How do you feel about them shooting a lot more threes? I saw he had made a quote of my team will shoot too many threes. What do you
Whatever
think?
wins.
Whatever wins.
It's great if they're going in, baby.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you from the logo. If it goes in, I don't care.
Get some
That's
Jimmy
in the
Fredette
Big
there.
Ten, man.
Yeah, so it was a good hire by them. I mean, obviously time will tell. So
Yeah, no, I mean the hire makes sense. He was somebody I was going to bring up, but you had highlighted him, so I just skipped past it. I thought maybe they go for somebody, I guess, to me, a little bigger in the Iowa State head coach. I like pulling from other big programs when you're a big program. I think that's like a flex. It's also shows like, hey, we're going to do what it takes. But Dusty May was also a popular name right now. I think Louisville was hot on him also. And so, I mean, if it's competing with you in Louisville, I mean, you're doing pretty good. If it's basketball, you got to feel pretty good about that. He's been talked about since that last year Final Four run. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the Andy Enfield, who coached at Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City 2013, took them to a Sweet 16, and then immediately left for USC. He's done pretty good there at USC, regularly makes a tourney, doesn't really make it far. I'm not saying May is going to be that, but to me, it's comparable because of the head coach resume, which isn't that large. Mostly average seasons until he hit that Final Four. They took second in the AAC this year with the first round exit in the tournament. And it'll be interesting to see what he does. I'm guessing they had to have, like you guys are saying, provided him with the extra assurances for NIL stuff, because I'm sure Louisville is, although Louisville's had a pretty good run in football lately too. So, you direct resources one way, take them from another. But yeah, no, it's a good hire. It's definitely a hire. I'm not going to say I think for sure he's going to be successful. I think he'll at least be okay. And who knows? Who knows, man? I mean,
tape a 4 right here and put a basketball team.
In basketball, all you need to get is that one kid.
Yeah,
that's true, especially in college. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get that one kid, he's going to look like a genius.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, yeah. Welcome, Coach May, from a Michigan fan. The other two care less.
Hope you burn, bro.
Now, with the tournament going on, it's March. Tigers baseball will be on TV here soon. It's spring. To me, that means things start anew, and that's a great feeling. And you know what else is a great feeling? Eating at Adobo Boy. I wasn't leaving them out. Adobo Boy is the official sponsor of the BDE Sports Talk podcast. As you know by now, us three are proud Filipinos who love a good Filipino meal, and Adobo Boy delivers just that with their amazing food, amazing vibes, as I say every week, that go unmatched in the food industry. Not only do they have delicious food, they also go against the grain of a traditional restaurant and tinker with their menu to bring an amazing variety of Filipino cuisine. Their menu rotates weekly, so there's always a reason to come back to try more authentic Filipino food. It's time. It's that dish. That one delectable, delicious dish. It's an iconic Filipino dish. It's an iconic Adobo Boy. Ooh, man, that's a tongue twister. Iconic Adobo Boy bowl. That would be Red's Pork Adobo Bowl. Dean, you got this down. Let us know.
Oh yeah.
Drop some info.
It is that tender pork braised in soy sauce and vinegar. It comes on a bed of rice with cucumber and Jackie's achara or papaya salad. I mean, it's fantastic. I like to eat it separately as Ace recommends it, but it's definitely worth buying two to mix one up and give it a shot yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. So if you're into trying new and different food or just like some amazing adobo and vibes, stop into Adobo Boy where owners Ace, Jackie, and Red are amazing people who genuinely care about your experience there. Eddie, drop some info on us. What do the people get if they go?
People get a whole lot of stuff, man. First,
Mm.
they get a great atmosphere.
Always.
As soon as you walk in, the great atmosphere.
Yeah.
You go up there, you get your food. You get
What?
great food.
What?
And while you're doing that,
What?
oh, you drop the promo code
What?
BDE Sports Talk Podcast.
Yeah.
And you get 5% off. Again, that's 5% off. You drop that promo code BDE Sports Talk Podcast. You get 5% off of an amazing meal. You just cannot beat that.
Oh, what? You make me want to go there every time you say that. I love it. Adobo Boy is open Tuesday to Friday, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5 to 7:30 for dinner, and on Saturday, 11:30 to 2 for lunch, and 5 to that extra hour of 8:30. But you want to get there early because they have been selling out. They've been getting long lines, and that means the food is delicious. Adobo Boy is located at 3740 28th Street Southeast, Kentwood, Michigan, and is inside the amazing Myanmar restaurant. Get there, get some food, have a good time, sing a little karaoke if you want.
Ooh.
Say hi to Ace, Jackie, and Red. Tell them that we sent you. BDE Sports Talk Podcast, 5% off. It's always better at Adobo Boy.
Adobo Boy.
Yay.
Hey.
So, continuing on as stated, the Tigers start the season on Thursday with optimism, right? For the first time in a while. Per Bleacher Report, Twins are the favorites to win the division at plus 115. The Tigers are at plus 350. 42% of bets placed are on the Twins, but 34% of the money is on the Tigers. So, Thursday, season begins, long season. I have some thoughts. If you want me to go first, I can do that. Just real quick, there is optimism. A lot of young guys, a couple vets. Kerry Carpenter, who hit 278 last year, 20 home runs, will be DHing. Hopefully he can continue his rate of success. The veteran signings of Mark Canna gives him a veteran presence, and Gio Urshela, he's hit well in spring training. So that's a great sign.
Healthy, he's good.
Yeah, coming back from that injury. I think he's hitting like 299, something like that. Torque hit 137 in spring. Not great. He only hit 233 last year. He had, 30 home runs, though. So
you can do 230 if you're hitting 30.
Yeah. So, Javi actually hit better than Torque in spring.
At the end, yes. Yeah, he pulled it through, yeah.
So, if he can get turned around, man, if you're looking at that line, and I know, it's that nasty slider. That nasty
Once the
slider.
double A pitchers go back to double A and they throw anything with movement.
Yeah, anything out of the zone is fair game for old Javi.
Hey, things are new. Let's see what happens, right? I'm really looking forward to watching Colt Keith and Riley Green. Really Riley Green. I want to see, I'm excited to see if he can continue to grow his star power. I think he can. He's a good outfielder, can hit the ball. He's young. Tariq Skubal, he's primed for another good season. Some say he's in the Cy Young race early. I mean, it's super early, but he had a decent season last year. Kenta Maeda, good veteran. We'll see what happens. Bullpen should be pretty good. So I'm looking forward to watching them. It will replace the weekly Red Wings update. Once the Red Wings are done, looking forward to it. I say my prediction is I think they win. I think they're going to do it. I think they win the division by a game. I think they can pull it off. Whether they have it probably won't happen, but I think I'm going to put money on that plus 350, fellas.
Do it too.
So, your guys' thoughts on the Motor City Kitties? I guess this is the nickname according to MLB 24.
Meow. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're too far off on that. As long as they don't start off slow like they did last year. I know they got swept in a couple of early series last year, but I was reading comments from AJ Hinch, and he was like, it's a different team, which is, is fair. I mean, it's every year, it's usually roughly a little bit different, but it's a different team, it's a different club, and they know that they've steadily improved. I think we talked about it in a much earlier episode, where as much as we wouldn't want to admit it, last year was a small improvement from the year before. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do. They looked pretty good in spring training. If they can just keep that up and the pitching stays hot, I think they have a shot I think they do have a legitimate shot to win the division. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the shot's legitimate, for sure. I'm excited for baseball to start. Excited to see the young guys out there. Vegas has the Tigers over under 80.5. Do you see that's an optimistic number? Because I kind of see it more as a vindication of me saying how little they've done this offseason to improve the roster. We won 78 games last year. ESPN predicts the Tigers to win 78 games this year. Vegas set a line of only 2.5 more wins than we had last year. It's the best we could do. 3 more wins over the course of a full year. That's the part that brings me down a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of hope. I remember us talking about Wyatt Langford leading up to the MLB draft, who we didn't take, obviously, but he's starting day one in left field. And Max Clark is a 3-year project. And nobody knows, right? Then again, nobody knows Wyatt Langford could lay a complete turd up at the bigs, but they're letting him go at it right away. Max Clark, who I don't even know where he's at. He's somewhere. He's somewhere out there doing his thing. But that's where I'm still at. I'm optimistic that the thing is that's what pisses me off. Is I'm optimistic because the division is bad enough to still be able to win it, having not done much at all. And he could have really made some moves with $55 million away from the average payroll, as I've highlighted before when we talk about the Tigers. We're $55 million away from the average, and in one of the worst divisions in baseball, at least before the season. So I'm disappointed that we're only can be predicted to win 2.5 more games potentially than last year. Isn't that kind of a letdown, or is that optimistic that they can be an 80-win team?
That's improvement, my friend.
It is.
Well, I wanted to look at Max Clark real quick. He's number 6 in the MLB Pipeline's ranking of top 10 outfield prospects. He's number 3 in the Tigers prospects. So, we'll see, man. Wyatt Langford could
suck. Yeah, he really could.
I doubt it. He's playing in the bigs. So.
I know, dude,
It's
there's
not
you-
terrible. That's for sure.
Dude, it was like, dude, if he was supposed to go number 1 and he got passed on the first pick, and it was like, oh yeah, whatever. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So, what you don't think they're going to win the division?
Do I think they're going to win? No, I don't. But they could. We got, the pitching's got to hold up at the beginning. You can't, like we were saying, you guys highlighted, I've talked about before, you can't start out as slow as they've started out the last couple of years and expect to win anything, let alone the division.
Right.
So, yeah, if the pitching holds up at the beginning of the year and Javi can give us an 8 or 9 spot, good stats. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's close this thing up and get to the Red Wings weekly update. Tough couple losses this week, fellas. 1-0 shutout in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Last night's 4-3 over to Washington. That really, really needed to be a regulation win. 10 games to go. They sit 2 points out of the second wild card. Washington has an extra game over the Red Wings. While the loss doesn't take them out of the playoffs, they aren't helping themselves, considering this week they have Carolina, Florida, and Tampa in the week between our recordings. That doesn't even include who else they play.
All on the road.
Yeah. So it just last night felt like a shot to the gut.
Mm.
That's probably how you guys felt as well.
Yeah. Well, I was like, well, they got into overtime, at least to get a point. And then I was like, oh, wait, the Capitals are literally the team right above them for that wild card spot. So can't give up 2 to them and, only get 1. So, yeah, no, it definitely didn't feel good. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, we lost ground. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, no, it was heartbreaking. I listened to the whole game on the radio when I was driving yesterday, and I was just bummed, man. All the opportunity to win the game in a must-win game against a team you can beat, and you just don't do it. And so
they never, and the thing was, they never even looked like they were gonna even try to score in overtime.
Yeah,
I wish I could have watched, because the way it sounded. I was like, man, I'm just not. It just doesn't feel like they're in it.
Yeah, Columbus had the puck pretty much the entire time. Whatever their names are. They pretty much had the puck the whole time, and then one defensive mistake, and then they're open down the ice. And there's not much Lyon really could have done on a couple of those goals that happened on him last night, or I guess a few nights ago once this comes out. So it's hard to put it on him. There was a lot of defensive mistakes that were obvious. So
the defense
you can't play like that. You can't play like that and win games.
There's 3 different times I said last night, I'm like, why is Petrie out there? I get Wallman's hurt, but that's he was so bad. So, and it wasn't just, who played well, who keeps playing well, is Edvinson. Edvinson keeps playing well.
Oh, yeah. Kid's a stud. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Give him more minutes.
So
let him play that first line with Seider. Sherrod doesn't have to be there.
Right. Well, and another person that last night I've been kind of down on is David Perron. I don't think he's played well, and I've actually read comments now. They're like, I thought he had been at least all right for most of the season. A lot of people are like, he sucks. He needs to go. Him, Petrie, a lot of people are on the same wavelength as us as far as defenders go. Yeah, people even said Gostisbehere.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. I mean, dude can score, but he'll let the other team score.
So can Trot. I mean,
Well, yeah.
so yeah. Well, it's
Come on, boys. We need you, man. You got to at least win 2 of those next 3. That seems impossible, but they got to win at least 2 of those next 3 just to keep head above water and hope Washington doesn't keep winning. I mean, Nashville was Nashville. They're the hottest team in the league right now, but you got to beat Washington.
Had to.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, here's hoping. So, all right, fellas, great episode. I kind of wish we had done Red Wings Weekly Update first. So sad.
Still got a chance, baby. Still got a chance.
Still got a chance. 10 games. So if you're watching or listening this far, thank you. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you could. That would help grow the channel so we can keep bringing you this A+ content. Comment your predictions for the Tigers season below. If you're listening, Facebook, comment us. Let us know what your thoughts are. If we're way off on the Red Wings, whatever the case may be. So, with that said, hope you all have a great week. And we'll see you next time on the BD Sports Talk Podcast.
Sports Talk.